What is going on, everyone? It is Tyler McKinney back here again, and we're getting right into the USFL draft. There's more information out there, and I don't know. We're going to work through it. Listen, they said that draft like this has never been done before. Well, it's never been done before because it's never been this convoluted. I'm just joking, but it just seems convoluted. There's a lot of things going on with it. Things moving here, things moving there. Oh, you can do this, but you can't do that. I don't know. There's a lot of rules, a lot of things, a lot of ways things are moving with it, but let's try to work through it. Okay? Okay. So, on day one, we have rounds 1 through 12. That's going to be happening on February 22nd. That's from 7 to 10 p.m. Now, that is only going to be on Fox Sports social media's outlets. I don't know. It hasn't been advertised for TV, so that's where we're at. Now, we've got day 2. That's going to be rounds 13 through 35. On Wednesday, February 23rd, that'll be starting at 10 a.m., and they're going to go until they're finished. Again, that's going to be on the Fox Sports social media networks, whatever that means. There's going to be 280 picks total in this draft in a total of 35 rounds, which means each team's going to get 35 players. And you might ask, Tyler, how in the world do you get to 38 players from 35 rounds and each team getting one? Well, I will tell you. They are going to have a supplemental draft on March 10th. Now, remember, they're not reporting to training camp till the 21st, so they're going to have 10 more picks, which is going to get them 45 guys. You're like, but Tyler, I thought they were going to carry 38 guys. Well, they're going to carry 38 guys on active roster, 7 on the practice squad, which gives you a total of 45. Already, we are getting ridiculously convoluted, and I haven't even gotten to how they're going to do the draft. Let's move on. So, how are we doing the draft? Well, the order we've already known is it's going to be the Panthers, it's going to be the Bandits, it's going to be the Stars, the Generals, the Gamblers, the Stallions, the Maulers, and finishing out with the Breakers. That's how it's going to be for the first round. And remember, if it's snake format, you're first, next round, you last. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and that's how it's going to be for all 35 of those rounds. But Tyler, you say it's 35 rounds. Yep. And that means it's odd. Yep. And again, you see how this kind of trend of, okay, things not adding up and not kind of, it's getting even worse. Why? Because let's go ahead and let's show you how they're going to be drafted. These players are not going to be drafted by, you can just take anybody. No, rounds are specific for specific positions. Yes. Sit down. We're going for another long ride. So, in round number 1, they're going to take quarterbacks. You only get one. You get your first quarterback. For rounds 2 through 4, they're going with defensive ends. Rounds 5 through 7, the offensive tackles. Rounds 8 through 11, we're going to the cornerbacks. And to finish out the night, for the first night of the draft, they are the 22nd. They are finishing up with your second quarterback pick. That's day 1. Day 2, at 10 a.m., they're going to pick back up with rounds 13 through 17. They're going to be specifically for wide receivers, 18, 19 safeties. The 20th round, just centers. Sorry, guys, that's all you get. 21, inside linebackers. 22, 23, guards. 24 through 26, the defensive tackles, they're not going to leave you out. 27, 28, running backs or fullbacks. 29 through 31, outside linebackers. 32, kickers. 33, punters. 34, tight ends and H-backs. And 35, long snappers. That's how it's going to go. If you want me to repeat that, go ahead and rewind the video. And I would appreciate it. Give me more watch time. Thanks. So anyhow, that's how they're going to break down this draft. That's how it's going to go. Let's look at some of the rules, because we've got to have more rules on top of what they've already said. Now, I think this one's kind of cool. Should a team's time expire within a selection, they can still choose a team, that player. However, the team behind them that is their pick now they can go ahead and pick, and they are free to pick. And if they choose the same one as the team ahead of them, sorry about your luck. The other team gets it, which I think is pretty cool. It keeps everybody on pace and on the clock, which I think is good. There are going to be no trades whatsoever. That's right. You got no trades happening in this draft. Now, they are going to utilize this compensatory pick thing. And again, you see how my head just keeps spinning. Why in the world we have a whatever, it's called a compensatory pick is given, and you can see I can't even pronounce things anyways, and to do this, it just adds more and more to it for me. So what will happen is if a team can decide that they want to have a compensatory pick in that, so if they don't want to draft a player from that position, they can then, it says the draft order, so if a team selects to pass on a round in exchange for a compensatory pick, that may be used at the conclusion of a different position round. So the idea would be as if they wanted to get, like, say, another wide receiver and didn't want to have one of the defensive end spots, then they can go ahead and pick another wide receiver at the end of that. Now, if more than one team decides to do that, then they're going to take the draft order from the draft order will be the position round. The draft order of that position round will determine who will be ahead in that. Like I said, it's convoluted. And then, of course, you have the supplemental draft, which will add those last 10 players to the roster to get them to the 45 roster to take them into training camp. And then what will happen is out of those 45, you'll get your 38 active and your 7 practice squad, and that's where you have it right there. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot more moving and shaking as things go on. If you remember with the XFL, they definitely did that as well. You had players coming in, sign, and, they would get, allocated to teams. They would get put in with teams and things like that. We'll see how everything transpires with this. Not really a whole lot here with it. I think it's a little bit convoluted for me. I like the fact of being able to pick whenever you want, but in this, everybody's starting out fresh. This is a brand new league, giving everybody the kind of the same type of an opportunity. And the way that they've done it too, even though it is a bit mind-numbing, back and forth, but the idea is they're trying to give, the teams that got kind of like, so the guys that got the quarterbacks, well, on the defense, defensive ends a lot of times, are your can be your biggest playmakers on defense. So they're giving the, those that got last shall get first. So they're kind of going back and forth with that, which you can kind of see how they've kind of, strategically done that to where, this team, gets to pick offense first, this team gets to pick defense first, and, and vice versa, back and forth throughout the whole thing with it. They're not going to be releasing any of the players who are in the draft. They said roughly about 450 to 500 players are actually in the draft. They're going to be, like I said, taking 280 and then another additional 80 on top of that. So, you're going to have somewhere roughly around 360 players that are going to be drafted. With all of that, as you can tell, I'm already getting worn out with, talking about all of this. Once we get these players next week, that is going to be the key of where things are going to be. I don't know. I'm thinking about maybe on draft night, maybe around, 9 o'clock Eastern time, because it's going to be starting around 7, maybe going live, breaking down what we've seen so far, because a lot of them, with a lot of these positions that are going to be selected, DNs will probably know some, offensive tackles we might know some, quarterbacks we will definitely know, and, some of the cornerbacks we'll probably know too. So one of the things that'd be nice is we can talk about the quarterbacks, and then once they get back into the quarterbacks for like that last hour or so, we can talk about those guys and maybe have some fun with that. I don't know. If you want me to go live on that night, let me know, and we'll try to work. If I get enough people that want that, maybe we'll make that work. So I've kind of bounced all the way around, but listen, this draft is kind of bouncing all over the place. There isn't a whole lot to take from it. They've tried to be as fair as possible with this thing. They've tried to make it the best that they could, in that regard. And you always know that teams that we'll talk about this after the draft, because you'll definitely be able to see where each one of the teams is, headed with their direction with that. And yeah, we've got a lot of different coaching hires and things like this, but it'll be interesting to see, which, type of style each one of these teams is going to run on offense and defense. And we'll see, how they're going to do that, more of that design as these player selections happen. So that's kind of where we're sitting. As always, I want to know what you think down in the comment section, and we can continue the conversation on down there. All right, guys, listen, I know that you're busy, and I know that I'm busy, so let's get on out of here. You have a good night. Bye.